Poom, yeah, Poom swapping back in. It's going to be an interesting change for them. Unfortunate for Diamond that he has been subbed out. You know, Diamond obviously had a really good run, you know, every time he's been in the NACL, but has not really been able to make it work to the degree that he wanted on the LCS stage. So Poom going to be coming back, was with CLG last split. Did get replaced there as they changed over to Energy and replaced the bot lane. So now he's going to have an opportunity to move in here, and we'll see how he's going to work with Tomo. I can't imagine they've had a tremendous amount of time to actually play together. So, you know, have to find out exactly how well they will be working together.
Yeah, both of these are players that we have only recently seen with those kind of long-standing duos. Of course, you know, Diamond and Tomo working on their previous synergy, but Poom, even when he was on CLG, it was he and Luger together for quite some time. And if you remember back to when Poom first made his appearance in the LCS, he was one of the fastest rising from amateur, you know, coming into the LCS as a fresh face and really off of the name that he created as being a strong engage. And now with a different look, a different partner, we'll see if we get a different player or the same. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think Dignitas overall has also had a pretty good split. You know, I know some of these players have very high expectations of themselves. You know, Jensen in the interviews is quick to kind of downplay how they're doing. You know, they are at 500. He's obviously been on a lot of good teams. He's won a lot of championships, so his expectations may be higher than that. But again, I think Dignitas is another team that people did not really see doing a lot of damage, especially after their spring split where they looked really weak, where some of the veterans on this team were not performing to the level that you would really expect from them. I do think both Jensen and Santorin are overall having a better summer split. Rich has been a big addition to the team. He's really been performing well. And, you know, Tomo, I think, is definitely outperforming what we saw from Spawn in spring split. So have been some upgrades for the squad, and we just have to see if they can kind of build upon that consistency, you know, and try to climb their way up, because it has been kind of up and down, I think, for both of these squads at times.
Yeah, and both of these are teams that have some fresh talent coming to the table, but also working off of these veteran duos, just in different regards, right? We have Santorin and Jensen on the Dignitas side, but for TSM, Hauntzer has been a consistent player in that top side, of course, sticking to the Malphite to start off the season on a good footing. And then over on bot, you know, WildTurtle, whether he's on Jinx or kind of catering to whatever TSM is looking for in terms of draft, has been that consistent player, a carry for them to work around. And Insanity being that proactive mid laner that you mentioned, and having that lens on this squad. But we'll see if TSM can continue their streak. They're coming off of the 3-0 of the previous week. Dig did, of course, pick up that victory at the tail end against FlyQuest, but are looking to make more as we finish out the banning phase.
Yep, it's going to be the 6th straight Renekton game, actually, for Hauntzer now. So he has just been, you know, he was on the Malphite a lot at the start of the split, and he's just been going towards Renekton nonstop every single game since then. They did ban out the Rumble, one of those counters that we're seeing become a lot more popular up in the top lane. Rumble is getting very popular around the world, is a strong answer, especially when people are playing those kind of more aggressive lane styles. Ignite, Comet can be pretty difficult for the Renekton to deal with, so he will not be having to deal with that. I'm interested to see if this is going to end up being, you know, Poppy top. Are they going to go for something else for Rich? You know, what sort of a matchup will he bring to the table here?
Yeah, I mean, Rich has been somebody who's willing to play to the meta, whether it's playing a ton of games of Cassante to really kind of build that good rapport and that, you know, basically confidence the team has in him, or bringing in something different here with the Gangplank.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he already drew a couple bans, you know, for a couple of the picks that he's brought out that have been different. You know, the Rumble, as I said, a number of people are playing it, but he was banned out on both the Quinn as well as the Alawi, and now is going to go towards the GP. So really cool here. We are going to have Rel, you know, almost guaranteed is Rel support. You know, no reason to really put Poppy down there. But Rel, of course, still waiting for a first Rel jungle in the LCS. Has been really popular in solo queue. Is talked about, you know, pretty highly as one of those flex picks, but has not been getting grabbed up for that role thus far. Insanity going to be bringing out another marksman in the mid lane. Has really been kind of known for his Graves, I think, in the LCS. He was the first person, I think, to ever play it in the LCS, to play the mid Graves, and has played a number of games of it already. Has the 3 games on it. Brought out the Tristana last week, which looked quite good. So now going to be bringing out the Kai'Sa. Very likely will be the AP Kai'Sa variant. It's really popular. We're seeing it in mid lane. We're seeing it in bot lane. Going for that early W evolve. Static Shiv can be really powerful here as well. I'm not sure if he's going to go Static Shiv. I'm assuming it's just going to be Static Shiv Nashers, which is kind of what we're seeing most people go for. But there are some people who are just doing Mythic Rushes and like full-on W poke. But it'll be interesting to see how he's able to pilot it.
I mean, coming off of 2 full weekends of NACL casting, I gotta tell you, it feels like Kai'Sa was...
You have the Rakan as well here. You have the Ash Arrow, so a lot of tools there for TSM to find fights, to choose them on their own terms. But they are, you know, I would say a little bit lower as far as the damage kind of is concerned. Ashe, you know, I think Ashe from ahead can really do well, but Ashe, when you get put behind, can really struggle to actually put out consistent damage. Renekton is kind of hit or miss. You know, it's more, I think, going to be emphasis on Insanity, whereas the GP is going to be bringing a tremendous amount of damage to the table here on Dignitas' side.
As all members of Dignitas await to see if TSM attempt to come for an early invade for some vision acquisition.
And WildTurtle now with this game, I think surpasses Bjergsen for most games LCS all time. So 612 games played now for WildTurtle in his career. A pretty incredible career. You know, we saw that piece on him earlier today. And I'm so impressed by the longevity of the career and also the consistency with which he's been able to play at that level. It is not easy.
Oh, and a good start for TSM to attempt to get Jensen here, but Poom stepping in front of Tomo. As TSM venture into the enemy jungle, ward thrown down by both sides, but will get swept out.
Yeah, and they're going to be able to actually force Jensen back to base. He's going to have to use his TP at level 1. That is a terrible start. And they're going to be able to steal away the Raptors here. So really good stuff from TSM, getting aggressive early on. We'll see how many camps Bugi is going to look to take on this bot side. Of course, he did start Q to do that, so that is why they were helping him so much on that leash. But this is not a good trade for Jensen either, and you have to be so careful after having to force out that TP early on. Bugi will at least do the red buff as well. Likely just going to do 3 camp spot and try to play split map, but we'll see what the response is from Santorin, because Santorin right now, he just immediately gave up the camps on bot side, knew he wasn't going to be able to challenge when Jensen had been pushed back. But if he can't actually cross map and go towards top side and steal away the Raptors or something, he's going to be very far behind.
Tomo getting a bit chunked. Chime still going for it, and now both summoners taken away from Tomo and forcing the back as well.
Yeah, able to actually get that pretty easily. The early ignite went down, he had to cleanse it, he's getting slowed up by Turtle, and those slows ended up forcing the flash, and it's going to force the base as well. It's one of those things where you're just disrespecting the level 2 that is coming through. TSM hit that earlier, and it's going to be pretty punishing for Tomo because Boogie's down on that bot side, so he's going to do that 3 camp clear. And honestly, Bugi and Chime should probably just move between the pillars.
Oh, Santorin, flash for flash, does manage to root with the ethereal chains as Santorin's here for the follow-up. First blood drawn by Dignitas.
Nicely done by Dig, but like we got to look back though as the bot side because they're just going to stand between the towers, right? They can't even approach the wave. So he's still level 1 against a level 3 WildTurtle. They lost a plate, and this is going to be 4 or 5 waves that are actually denied. Santorin's going to come down, but I don't even think they can walk to the tower with Santorin, to be honest with you, because they're still level 1. They can't fight.
Manages to grab Poom up and tries to tag him with a Riptide.
So
Santorin has rotated towards his bot laners, but still, TSM have asserted the pressure. Look at those plates go down, Azael.
Yeah, they get 2 plates already 3 minutes in, and a 2-level lead. It's going to be nearly 2 full levels ahead here for Turtle. A ridiculous advantage, plus all the farm that he actually has in pocket here. His buy is going to be much more powerful, so if TSM go back to base here, push out this wave, it's going to be a huge advantage for them on the bot side. So yes, first blood does go the way of Dignitas, but way more was gained from TSM on the bot side, and that is pretty devastating here for Poom and Tomo. Not the start that they were looking for, you know, get pushed out at level 1. And then because the map had already been split, Bugi was already clearing on that bot side, they can't even get back towards the turret. So they're just almost completely out of this game.
And TSM's bot lane having that lead when the Dragon's going to be spawning in 5 minutes. It's a good way to keep that pressure up. WildTurtle, a focal point of this squad, disrespecting, what is it, the 615th game buff that he's got. Trying to follow up with a play with Bugi, making a visit towards his bot side, and Tomo still does not have the summoners from that previous aggression, so WildTurtle draws a kill of his own.
Yeah, great job there by Bugi, just attacking that weak lane down on the bot side. They were already put way behind. They knew he had no summoners, so they find the flash hook, and Turtle gets the kill, adding insult to injury, so Tomo is just so behind. Now, this is going to be a tall mountain to climb here for Dignitas if they're going to be able to get back in this one, because their 80 carry is just almost completely out of it, and Poom could actually just straight up die here. He's got to be a little bit careful.
Crash down from Poom, but delayed in his chance to get out of that one, marked so low by Chime, who was just having a support on support crime.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good at the end of the day by Poom because he holds the wave, so he saves a couple more minions there for Tomo. I was just getting a bit nervous because, you know, maybe one more Q, one more auto. Chime had the ignite, So potentially, if you get hit by a little bit more damage there, the Ignite could finish you off even through that crash down shield. But Poom had it calculated, does stay safe, preserves a few minions there for his AD carry, and he's going to need every single one that he can find.
Now, when there's been that much pressure on the bot side, a recent visit from the enemy jungle, then good on the support to make sure that he minimizes losses for the lane to give Tomo an opening to try and bring it back to an equal point. Though, of course, there has been significant warding from TSM around this dragon, which is why they feel the confidence to be able to draw it out. Poom making sure to sweep on the backside of this pit, but not enough confidence from Dignitas to be able to step up towards this dragon.
I mean, there's just no way. Your bot lane is so far behind, and you look at the buys, it's tier 2 boots fully above what your opponents have. So it's like 1100 gold in combat power above what Tomo actually has right now this early on. So no way for them to really walk up and try to fight. Tomo also still has no flash, so it could be a very easy kill if he did actually show up. So at the end of the day, they will just push out mid. Rich doing okay up here on this top side. You know, every time we come up, he's kind of winning out in some of these trades, but of course Hauntzer has had the push, and Hauntzer is up some farm as a result. I do think this is one of those games that's going to potentially come down to that like first GPL, you know, trying to get a play on bot side. It looks like they may look for some sort of a fight down here. Try to use a cross map ulti, try to find a big play where you can get a shutdown potentially on Turtle, you know, slow him down. Because I think if they can't get Tomo back into it, it's going to be so hard in the 5v5s later on with him this far behind.
But you are exactly right to call out when Rich is going to use that first cannon barrage and where it's going to be, because that is a great way to just affect a whole nother portion of the map without having to unlock yourself from that top side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rich, I think, is doing fine so far on the top side. So, you know, if he can get towards a quick first item, you know, you can be a big game changer on that gangplank. Obviously, LeBlanc got that first blood, so Jensen going to be working towards his Shiv, which has maintained its popularity despite all of the nerfs. Not going to be able to connect with the chain, but nice sidestep there on the Void Seeker, so Jensen will stay safe. So it's going to be a lot of emphasis on the solo lanes here for Dignitas, and they just have to make that decision. You know, can we salvage bot lane, play towards Tomo, get him back in the game, or do we just kind of have to abandon ship, allow him to try to just get whatever farm he can, and focus more towards our solo lanes?
What have you been making of how the junglers have spent the time thus far? Because obviously Bugi having that focus towards bot to get that early lead, and Santorin maybe looking towards these solo lanes for something.
Yeah, I think Bugi did a really good job. Obviously, was that team plan? As Bugi looks for the Hex Flash there, trying to find Jensen, couldn't do it. Bugi has been fairly proactive, and that's what you want to do on this Nautilus. You know, I really like the game plan. Level 1 invade from TSM, split the map, go down towards bot side. Even if they hadn't actually been able to force Tomo back, they could have threatened to dive there because they were zoning him off the XP. He still would have been level 1. So I think the game plan was there from Bugi, and I like the attempts over towards mid now, just protecting Insanity, trying to put him in a good position here, as he had been the one that was focused by Santorin. As for Santorin, I think he did a good job kind of recovering from that early game. Not much you can do to defend your bot side from that dive when you've been pushed out of the bot side jungle, but got some camps back, got a kill for first blood in mid lane for his LeBlanc. So I think doing the best that he can with a pretty bad start.
Right now, pushed off of this Rift Herald because Chime was ready for the collapse from mid as Bugi was rotating from that top side. So just making sure that presence was known so that TSM could ensure that Dignitas couldn't have too much of an advantage up here.
Yep, absolutely. Bugi now playing up towards that top side. Chime has rotated, and they're going to try to use Hauntzer to just push out this wave, take that Herald, but Dignitas is moving over here. If Turtle is bot, there's not a gold lead. He is the gold lead.
On it, going in for the stun up, knock up onto one, and the return from Chime. All the while, the enchanted crystal arrow coming from downtown. Where does it land? Up top towards Rich. Can Hauntzer make something of it? Meanwhile, Poom setting the play up for Santorin and Jensen. Santorin achieves a kill onto Bugi, which means there's no jungler to contest this Herald. Chime has to be careful. Hauntzer coming in for the assist, stunned up as he slices and dices out of there, but Jensen gets the lockdown, returns the kill. A double offered by Insanity, though, for TSM, as they are still thirsty for blood, and bring it back with another onto the enemy mid laner.
Yeah, TSM able to get a big fight there. Turtle actually moved up. He came all the way up, and Tomo stayed down on bot. So even though the initial play was looking pretty good for Dig, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow forces the flash out of Rich because he didn't actually have his orange available. I believe he had already used it on a Renekton's stun. So he's forced to flash back. Turtle makes that long distance rotation. You can see on the minimap, the early play was going towards Dignitas, but here comes Turtle. He shoots the arrow, and he's actually moving up from bot lane. Tomo has no prio. The wave is at his turret, so he can't actually move. This connects and forces the flash. Hauntzer's able to turn around, so he's pushed out. Then, it's just this long extended play where Dignitas do get a kill. They do go back onto the Herald. They're able to collect that. But all of a sudden, Turtle arrives. Rich has been pushed out. There's not really a way for them to actually take this fight. Sure, they're able to get that kill down onto Hauntzer, but they have no sustained DPS, and both the AD carries here for TSM are safe. And Hauntzer's feeling good about that, knows the fight is looking pretty good. And now both your ADs are really fed. 2 kills on Turtle, 2 kills on Insanity. TSM are right where they want to be.
Yep, over 1,000 gold for the TSM side off of that, though Dignitas was able to pick up that Rift Herald. We will see where Santorin decides to throw that. There's still 3 minutes available for these plates before they fall. But good play from TSM, good use of the ultimate from WildTurtle, and I think that when celebrating a player like this that has been so long standing in the lead, you love to see it. Pausing on that thought, though, as Hauntzer runs into some trouble. Has to use the Dominus here to heal up, and Rich does have Jensen coming this way.
Yeah, that was actually really close because Hauntzer popped the ulti right as it came up, so he didn't actually have that ulti in the early moments of that fight when Rich was getting pretty ahead. It was a tier 2 boots rush for the Renekton, so pretty standard, but it meant that Rich had the earlier first item completion, has that Essence Reaper already done, so is going to be pretty strong in these trades, and it can be difficult for melee champions if you're getting constantly poked and prodded away at. Turtle here just farming even more plates on that bot side while Chime and Bugi are there to zone. Tomo knows that they're around, so he's got to walk up slowly, but it's another plate going the way of TSM, and you can see a 1,500 gold lead already going to Turtle. They're going to have to drop the Herald mid to get some plates back, but it's not going to be anything close to a full tower. It is just going to be that crash for 2 plates. So a little bit of gold for Jensen, a little bit of gold for Santorin, but not making too much of a dent on the lead that TSM still have established for themselves.
Yeah, all the turrets are currently still standing, so some standing gold on the map, but TSM, they do have the dragon advantage, the gold advantage overall, and the gold in the right pockets, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
WildTurtle feeling pretty good as he finishes off the Kraken Slayer just now.
And Infernal is going to be really, really nice, if they can actually get up towards that soul. So easy to apply with the Ash Volley, with the Kaisa poke. So a lot of tools to just kind of poke and prod with that. Will be very difficult for Dignitas to come back from if they do, in fact, end up giving it up. You can see Insanity just constantly shoving out through mid, trying to keep Jensen pushed in. He doesn't want Jensen to be able to move into fog. He doesn't want Jensen to be able to kind of link up with Santorin and look for plays, because that's one of the ways that Dignitas could get some purchase in this game.
And if you're on the TSM side, though, feeling pretty good about trying to sustain the advantages that you have created. I think also when emphasizing the power with which WildTurtle is coming through. Insanity, there's been a lot to celebrate about his return to the roster. I will make note, though, a bit after Hauntzer tries to follow up on this play by Bugi, the Keeper's verdict to send him downtown. So Hauntzer all alone can't stand up against this.
Yeah, that was a great ult from Santorin.
Yeah.
Knocks 2 members out. It looked like it was going to be a TSM positive play. They had the extra man up on the top side, but a huge ult from Santorin knocks both Chime and Bugi away and allows them to get that kill onto Hauntzer. That was perfect play from Santorin.
And Santorin, when looking at Dignitas' victories, I think it's that return to that proactivity that we want to see from him, being a playmaker for the Dignitas side, and especially with Jensen having some standout performances. I think on the recent game against FlyQuest, on that Jace 10, 1, and 3, and showed that not only can he be strong on the classic picks we like to see from him, like the control mages, but really beginning to vary it up. But Santorin's at the core and really being able to kick these off.
Yeah, and this is just perfect because you want to create this 2v1. It's actually so much better to be able to get this knockout than hitting all 3. So he gets the knockout on 2, finds the stun onto Hauntzer, who's already in that GP ulti. They get another kill on him. And this is the 3rd straight Poppy game for Santorin where he's looked really good. It has been very, very solid stuff from him. Across all 3 of those Poppy games, 1 was in a loss, but has been really looking nice. Already has his locket completed. Seeing some people tech into this, still do see a lot more Even Shroud. Generally, you see Locket, against comps that are very burst heavy, try and actually protect your backline from getting 100 to 0. So potentially just thinking, all right, they have a Nautilus, they have a Recon, they have a Renekton, they have this powerful kind of initial engage, and the Locket's going to help save my carries.
Chime in some trouble though. Dignitas, they found the support and they want to take him down. Battle dances towards Bugi, but it cannot save him. Dignitas really making sure that gold lead has minimized.
Yeah, another kill there. Great job. Santorin finds it, and Jensen's able to pick up the kill. So Jensen going to be working pretty quickly towards his second item here. Has tier 2 boots, has his Shiv, has that Hextech alternator, and a good 700 gold or so in pocket. So keeping pace at the very least here with Insanity, and does want to be that big threat, because both these mages, in the mid lane, well, it isn't AD carry, but kind of functions when you're playing AP more like a poke mage, honestly. When you're just spamming out Ws once you have that W evolve. So both these guys are going to be looking for heavy poke, and if Jensen can get ahead to the point where he is dominating in that, we're going to see Santorin die.
Ends up getting the Rift Herald here, and the last smack sends Bugi away, but he still got what he came for.
Yeah, that's tough. Going to be able to actually get that steal and kill off Santorin. And now this means you're going to lose your tier 1 for sure, and you're probably losing your tier 2. So great play from TSM. Going to be able to actually just push down mid. Not even actually going to commit the Herald. Instead, just going to take the free tier 1, save that Herald for later. Could be used top or could be used very likely after this reset to try to get access to this third dragon, because the Infernal is spawning here in about 5 seconds, and TSM will want to continue that stack towards Sol.
Yeah, I was looking for a moment, Azael, like Dignitas were starting to grasp some control over the game. If they could pick up that second Rift Herald, having that ahead of Dragon means that you can try and draw the attention of your opponent somewhere. But right now, it's TSM's attention on the top side. Teleports from both ends as Rich stands alone, but not for long. Chime under the turret. Rich burned down and popped by Insanity. Stunned up. Jensen tries to get out of this one, but the turret does eventually fall as Shelly has been thrown. A kill here, as TSM managed to grab 2 and make this push on the top side an effective one.
Yeah, it's a great play from TSM on the top side. They drop the Herald, they get the dive, they kill off both the soul laners, get the TP off Jensen, the flash off Rich, the ulti off the GP, everything going TSM's way. They'll take the tier 2 as well. Yes, Dignitas do get a dragon back, but honestly, who cares if you're TSM, because you are 4K up 17 minutes in. They've just created such an enormous lead. Objective bounties even going to be spawning here pretty soon for Dignitas. It's been a tough game for Dig. Their bot lane got so far behind early that they're kind of just relegated to playing on the back foot. Tomo is likely going to be behind the entire game unless something really miraculous happens. But now TSM have been able to use that lead and spread it around the map. Chime has been very active on the map, knows they were already winning heavily through bot. They just links up with Bugi, kind of repays the favor of Bugi spending so much time down towards that bot side, and they have been able to make really good things happen for TSM.
I think both pillars of that game plan for TSM are working out very well. Of course, Hauntzer doing everything he can on that top side to make sure that he sets it up when you can bring a Rift Herald over. But you've got 2 different damage threats in Insanity and WildTurtle that are feeling very, very rich right now. And then Bugi and Chime working in tandem with their engage. One of the things when it comes to picks like the Nautilus, like the Rel, that yes, can flex into that jungle position, but are often seen in support. When you put them in the jungle, that requires a lot more proactivity, a lot more of a game plan from the jungler to best utilize these tools, since you're not necessarily standing in a lane to have that defensive capability just to protect your carry. So also props to Bugi for making sure that they garnered these early advantages against Dignitas, in which they've had to try and find these Rift Herald plays, but were only successful half of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Bugi has been doing a great job. He's been having a good split here with TSM. I think has surprised a lot of people. I don't think there was super high expectations for him coming into summer, and has been doing a very good job. 4 kills now, though, for Insanity, 3 for Turtle. These guys are super strong. And you can see them playing towards that topside river. It is 19 minutes in. They're starting to claim vision on that top side of the map to potentially play for a Baron. You just look at this area. It's just fully blacked out. There's nothing for Dignitas to see up in that top quadrant of the map. And with double AD carry, you can kill Baron very quickly. So if Insanity and Turtle are off the map, Dignitas is going to have to respect the chance that they could be looking for a rushed Baron here very quickly after spawn, and they're going to have to be willing to respond to that, but there's the engage!
Over the wall, out of the darkness, 2 members fall, and Dignitas lose their top laner. TSM making the play and keeping this pressure on this mid turret, chunked down to half, but they'll take that kill and feel good about it.
Yeah, that was really nicely done. They find him over the wall with the ward. Chime goes over. The killer instinct is there from Insanity to follow up. And they get a quick burst kill there onto Rich. And then just move back into Fog. Dignitas is going to have to play out through mid before they can even get access to some of this vision out through River, because they're nervous. They don't know. Potentially, there's people playing over towards that Baron. It is a really dicey situation for them. More items being completed now. You know, Turtle has the Trinity Force already completed. You can see the Nashers has been done for Insanity. Looks like he's working towards a Luden's third, so going towards that more heavy poke style. Some people like the Ludens, some people do go towards that Rage Blade. Both, you know, have their own kind of strengths and weaknesses, but if you're playing more heavily towards poke, of course the Ludens does make a lot of sense, and you can see how short that cooldown is. Every time you're tagging with the W, you're cutting the cooldown in half, so it's so important to actually dodge these, or the poke just never stops.
That damage very much stacks up, and just also granting that intel to TSM, having that long range seeking ability means that Dignitas, who are already worried about stepping into their own jungle, have to be that much more scared.
Absolutely. I mean, you're so far behind, so there's a massive vision advantage already on TSM. You have Void Seekers to actually be able to scout things out. You have Hawkshots to be able to scout things out. And now they're just going to start up the Baron with double AD carry while Hauntzer fights Rich on that bot side. But this is going to go down really quick. Dignitas are aware of it. We'll see if they can make anything happen.
Teleport's available on both sides, and Poom goes into the back line. Keeper's verdict means that Insanity's not here to deal the damage, but you still got multiple members of TSM to do exactly that as Santorin is ripped away. Tomo soon to follow, does manage to get out of range of Hauntzer, who had already expelled his flash, but TSM set their sights on the Baron once more. Though Dignitas do have a rich teleport in the books, he already used his ultimate. Jensen collapsing from the opposite side. Can he get a lock onto Turtle? Some big blast damage from Rich here. Chime going in before he goes golden, and WildTurtle setting it up for Insanity to knock it down. Double kill for TSM as WildTurtle and the squad end up just finishing off the Baron, and Dignitas is nowhere to be seen.
Nicely done by TSM, destroying Dignitas by the Baron there. Rich had a couple of good barrels, which made you think for a moment maybe something can happen, but they all pile in on him. They finish him off before he can burst anyone down. And the initial fight, again, you know, it looks like a good engage here from Poom, but he just insta-dies. There's so much damage on the other side, and Poom is so far behind. Yes, there's a great Keeper's Verdict, you know, knocking out an Insanity, but in the back end of the fight, Hauntzer has already pushed out Tomo. You know, he's fighting off Tomo and Jensen, forces the summoners out. Rich comes in with the TP, and he hits back-to-back barrels that do soften up a lot of the TSM members, but there's no one really there to follow it up. Jensen already uses spells. This first one connects on Turtle and Chime, then he actually gets another one right here that connects onto Insanity. So Insanity almost dies, Hauntzer almost dies, but they pile in, they kill off Rich, and as Jensen tries to go in to make something happen, he doesn't have the health and he gets burst down as he's distorting forward. And this one is pretty much all but over now. TSM 3 dragons already to their name. They have the Baron. They have an 8k gold lead. They can clear off the remaining outer towers here from the map. And with Rich split pushing on top side and having no TP, TSM can threaten any sort of dive they see.
Yeah, there's some bounties available for Dignitas, but not much more than that, as TSM feel like they have all the power in their hands with the Red Bull Baron buff still in effect. But Keeper's Verdict for one to be thrown away. Poom attempting to get right into his backline after taking way too much damage, but has now fallen. So Dignitas corralled under this inhibitor turret. Hauntzer venturing forward with Dominus Pop. Bugi's nice and healthy. Multiple members that can just stand with this cannon minion to make sure they take that inhibitor turret and then some.
Yeah, it is going to be a couple of towers traded back on the top side, but again, TSM knew there was no fear to dive here. There's nothing that's really going to go wrong when Rich is on that top side, so they pull the trigger on the dive, they get a tier 2 of their own, they take down that inhibitor tower and the inhibitor. And yes, the gold lead has been cut down a little bit because of those objective bounties, so it's going to be a lot of gold in the pockets of Rich here, who's richest member on his team, but is still quite a bit behind where Insanity is. It's still so much in control of TSM, and they're going to have full map control now with supers crashing down through bot. They can look to play 2 lanes, just play through mid and top, and look to potentially finish off this game here relatively quickly. Even if they can't find an angle for a dive or something to close it out, they can easily play towards Soul. So TSM has all the cards in their hand.
And while there are many flashes missing on TSM side, they have almost all their ultimates as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow was just thrown down, sidestepped by Dignitas. But look at how much damage Tomo was able to take from that poke. And these Void Seekers are gonna keep coming from Insanity to zone off the weakest of the Dignitas members when it comes to health. But this turret's just gonna keep getting knocked on.
Yeah, it's tough. They're struggling to even actually take down the cannon. Now the Baron buff finally expires, so Baron buff cannon minion is gone. Nice little store back dodge the hook from Bugi, but now TSM sees the turret is incredibly low, sees that supers are coming in through bots, so they can just walk forward, knock down this turret. Likely just going to be going back and not playing it too risky, just continue playing through top, let the supers crash through these other waves. They don't need to do anything too risky. They have a lot of gold in pocket, and they know they have that soul win condition still here in 2 minutes, so just continue playing through these lanes, forcing down towards the inhibitors. Insanity can keep fishing for poke, keep fishing with volleys and potential arrows coming through from Turtle. If you find the angle, you dive, you win the game. If you don't, you just play for Infernal.
Yeah, all of the options available for TSM. It's their own choose your own adventure, whereas Dignitas are just trying to get back to their single ending. Hopefully a happy one for them, but it's difficult with what TSM has been able to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking pretty grim for Dignitas at this point. It's not much of a choose your own adventure when all the men in defeat, you know?
I do feel like they've stepped somewhat into a horror game, you know, with the darkness around them. They just can't see far and are just awaiting that sweet death by the hand of TSM, who have felt pretty good in this game, really capitalized upon their early leads on the bot side. And, you know, those early dragon stacking meant that even when Dignitas were able to get some sort of trades, they lose their potency.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the biggest difference here. Insanity has been great through the mid game, but so much of this game, so much of this lead really did stem from the early game, from the lead that Turtle and Chime created, from the level 1 invade that TSM orchestrated, and then were able to slam home that advantage by just having Bugi zoning Tomo and Poom off. Then when they finally are able to get access to some minions, Bugi straight down towards bot, you know, uses his flash to actually get a kill on Tomo, who was missing his flash still. And sure, Tomo has a lot of farm now, but he has not been a factor in this game whatsoever. He's still down an item. And Turtle was able to, you know, move up towards top side, win a Herald fight for them. Chime was really active on the map. And it was all these things that really started to spill over. And TSM did a great job to extend their advantages from what was created in that bot lane 2v2.
And right now, making sure that they keep up that pressure. Hauntzer has been ushering the wave down bot, which will now be answered by Rich. But you can see the way Bugi's throwing out those Qs. All of TSM just awaiting the opening against Dignitas, who don't have any coverage. They don't have the security of the turrets on mid or bot, and are much more vulnerable. You see what happens anytime the Void Seekers connect with Tomo.
And you can see what TSM are doing, right? They're just trying to play in this section of the map. They're trying to clear out as many wards as possible. There's that one pink ward, and that's about it. That's giving vision over to their opponents. They want to control this area, and now they're going to be able to find a pick.
Of Santorin, the first knock by it, and as Chime goes in, he attempts to bring down Dignitas, setting up for Hauntzer to get into the backline. Rich has taken a lot of damage, a good chunk onto TSM through that cannon barrage, which means that Insanity eventually gets knocked down. Hauntzer attempting to flash over for Rich, but cannot find it, will be punished as soon as he comes out of stasis. Does he want to bring one more life down with him? He does! Jensen locking down with the ethereal chains, and Tomo finally getting to put some damage up in this fight. 2 for 2 traded. But in the end, TSM, they grab that dragon.
Yeah, they get the Infernal Soul, so they get that big prize, but a nice engage from Poom. I think catching TSM a little bit off guard, and that counter engage came through. And Tomo did get a couple kills, including a 1K shutdown from Insanity. If they can find even more here.
Jensen's going for more onto Bugi. He throws down the Riptide. Chime and WildTurtle both get locked. Jensen goes golden, and the root onto Tomo means he has to just take the damage as it's ditched out. 4 taken down by Dignitas, and TSM still have WildTurtle and Bugi to push on in.
Yeah, the initial burst was good there from Dignitas, but Turtle cuts through them, and TSM looking to end here in sub 30 minutes, move to 7-6, move to 7-3, more importantly, with Insanity. This team is on a tear.
On the last arrow to do it. 2 teams entered this match as equals, but in the end, it's TSM out on top.
Another great game here from TSM. Insanity 11-2-4 on the Kaisa. Turtle with a huge game as well, 7-0-8 on the Ashe. Deathless for him. Chime was everywhere. The level 1 plan was really good with Bugi. And he was able to link up with that bot lane and slam home the advantage, create a massive lead for them through that bot side, and TSM never really let it go. Just